Checking out the status of the hill on September 9th, 2023. Get a little shot of the variety here. Italian thistle, bull, of course the ever-present slender oats. Look at that hillside. I'm really impressed by the mix of erosion and new domination of yellow star thistle that has come through here following the goat grazing. What an improvement. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy. I finally realized that while the goats are brought out here in the name of keeping the vegetation managed to keep the biofuel at whatever level humans have decided is a comfortable level, well, you have to keep bringing the goats in order to keep that level down. And you have to bring the goats more often because the plants are responding to that grazing and springing back up. And they're springing back up at different times of the year. Add to the list of non-natives growing late in the season. Again, this is September 9th, and this is prickly lettuce, which is not native. Look at the stalk, you can see the prickly aspect of it. The mustard in particular is standing out to me because I know it was growing several months ago, and I know that there are giant stalks of the old mustard still standing, although now dead and dry, and yet here are these. Let's get a few more examples right inside of these slender oats here. We got some rather fresh looking yellow star thistle, and we got some mustard emerging. I wonder how many people see that green and yellow from the side of the road and think it's good news. There's more of the prickly lettuce right here. I'm not seeing fresh milk thistle. That's certainly seeding. Erosion level over here. Is this an example of how the goats press vegetation back down into the soil, improving its condition? Let's focus on one spot for a while, because this is where I saw a variety of native plants growing. They were annuals, but the goats got fenced into it as they were growing. So the goats were fed the native plants. So you have the argument, well, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet. Okay, so this is your omelet. You know, the big reward for sacrificing those native plants was to have the invasives come back thicker and stronger than ever. Why sacrifice the good plants that are supposed to be here if the end result is still bad? You also have the humans doing their part to mess things up. This gets whiter and whiter every year. I mean, these non-natives are all the way to the edge of the path to where they're growing out of the clusters that have eroded away. This is partially due to 500 or 600 hooved animals climbing over the hill, and if that wasn't bad enough, the city decides that it's important to bring a big grading truck through here every year. Half the time, with what they accomplish with that machine, it just looks like they're trying to cover up the failure of the goats. Oh goody, the yellow star thistle has moved into new territory. Just what we needed. And this is what I'm talking about with new plants coming up to replace the consumed plants. When you add multiple species, you increase the likelihood that there's a species that will grow at a time of year that the other ones are less likely to. And when you keep redistributing their seeds, and you provide the disturbance that those seeds have adapted to actually like, you're also making it likely that there's going to be a problem. Throw in a random rain here and there, and you've got your invasive plant problem back within a month or two of the goats leaving. So now you enter the argument that the goats need to be here the whole year, which in some cases they practically are. And by the time they leave, the problem's already back. We got a very, very simple question. Who can show me an increase in one species of native plants? Invasives and native trees. When are the native plants that are good for the habitat gonna come fill in the spaces in between? You see these? This is the hill collapsing from within itself. Early on, I pointed out coyote brush and saplings that used to be on the side of the road. Those have actually been destroyed since I filmed them. And things are so extreme now that you have large trees that are being threatened. When you consider how bad the erosion problem is, and despite that problem, nothing's changing in the plan, and they're going to bring back the goats that increase the erosion. They're going to bring back the grading machine that increases the erosion and cuts deeper into the hill, really accelerating the erosion problem. What else could possibly happen than for this to widen and continue to encroach upon where there are trees rooted in the ground? You know, let's stop making me prove that it's going to happen. Tell me how anything else could possibly happen. You can see the history here. I know humans have gotten fat, but they don't need this much space. Even fire trucks don't need this much space. That's nothing but loose soil and a mixture of invasive plants within it, pushed to the side by this road grading program. There it is. It's like watching the guts of the hill spill itself out. There's no root system to hold things in place. The only thing you got are these annual invasives. Let's take a look at their roots. That's not going to do much. Look at this. How long you give this tree? I mean, it's an obvious issue. It's something that should be under consideration. It should warrant a change in strategy, but I've been watching robotic humans just carry out their orders for so long. I really think that they'll just kill the tree. Each year I stand at this spot looking out that way towards these trees, and I use it as a reference point to go back and look at other footage. And there was a time where the focus for me was to show how much dead ground was here, just because the goats trampled it into oblivion. Now, the reason this is significant is that, as you can see, vegetation has grown back. So for the argument that you need to graze an area down to nothing before recovery can take place, I don't know if I could think of better proof that that doesn't work than this. There's not a native plant there. The exact same problem comes back. The only thing that's been achieved here is trampling, erosion, death of whatever handful of native annuals try to grow, and then the invasives coming right back. This failure of a program would be bad enough if it were free. It's costing us. It's costing us a lot of money. And it's costing the habitat a lot of health. Look at this mustard. Today's September 9th, 2023. That is an annual. It is not native. It's considered invasive. And here it is, springing up September 9th, well after what we might consider a normal cycle of annuals to be coming to an end. While working on another video, I happened to come across one of the first papers I ever read regarding grazing and the spread of non-native plants, and it listed a few plants that were primary problems, the ones that had been spread the most through these programs. And it said the slender oats. Look at that. What do we got here? Wild mustard. What do you know? What do we got here? Clover. I can't remember off the top of my head which clover they said. Here we go. Bromes. Here we go. I mean, that's kind of amazing. I have examples right here in front of me that what that paper said is still true to this day. Look how steep this is. native or non-native, nothing's gonna survive this. I'm gonna lose another inch or two this year. But there aren't any natives to even be concerned about. This is just gonna collapse. I've got to point this out again. It was one of the last spots that they brought the goats through for yet another pass. You know, they grazed this spot several times, and then this section of hill just was eroded horribly. So what you have here is an exposed side with no natives springing up out of it, and pretty much an inevitability of continuing to fall apart. How is increasing erosion a positive part of the program? Yeah, this is one of the worst years ever for yellow star thistle. I might not even be able to hike down to my other spot without cutting myself up pretty good.